Two predators are about to face off. In one corner, we have Dexter Morgan, the Bay Harbor butcher himself, a forensic blood spatter analyst who spent over 30 years perfecting the art of killing. In the other corner, Leon Prater, a billionaire venture capitalist who collects serial killers like trophies and just put a bullet in Angel Batista's back. With Prater killing Batista, he's crossed into Dexter's territory and fits Harry's code perfectly. Prater knows this. He knows Dexter is coming for him. So when these two masterminds finally clash, who walks away? Let's break down every advantage, every weakness, and find out who would win in this ultimate confrontation. Dexter Morgan was built for the hunt. His dedication to physical fitness wasn't casual. He maintained rigorous cardio routines, telling himself, "The voices in my head get quieter until it's just me, my breath, and my feet on the sand," during his runs. His college jiu-jitsu training proved its worth repeatedly throughout his career. When confronting Oscar Prado, who attacked him with a knife, Dexter's reflexes were so sharp, he redirected Oscar's own blade into his heart in pure self-defense. Against George King, who had kidnapped and restrained him, Dexter broke his own hand to escape the ropes, then managed to snap King's neck despite the injury. His fight with Zoe Kruger showcased his tactical thinking. When she attacked him and he didn't have his M99 ready, he put the syringe in his mouth and fought until he can position her for injection. Even his confrontation with Louise Green demonstrated his physical dominance. Dexter lifted the full-grown man off the floor by the neck with just two hands. His body wasn't just fit, it was weaponized through years of disciplined training and real combat experience. Leon Prater, standing at 4 feet 5 inches due to achondroplasia, faces obvious physical limitations. While we've seen him handle a gun, shooting Angel Batista multiple times in the back and nearly hitting Dexter with a follow-up shot, his physical combat experience appears non-existent. When he killed Batista, it was from a safe distance while Batista was distracted. His entire operation relies on Charlie, his former special ops muscle, to handle any physical confrontations. Prater has never been shown engaging in hand-to-hand combat or maintaining any fitness regimen. The physical advantage goes overwhelmingly to Dexter. In a direct confrontation, Prater would need to keep distance and rely on weapons or backup. If Dexter gets within an arm's reach, the fight's over before it starts. Dexter Morgan has eliminated over 150 victims across more than 3 decades of active killing. His methodology is surgical. He stalks targets, gathers evidence, confirms they meet his code, then executes them with precision. His body count is ridiculous, from the ice truck killer to Trinity, from the Doomsday Killer to the brain surgeon. His experience spans every type of victim and situation. When he killed Oliver Saxon in prison, he turned a pen into a murder weapon in seconds. Against Kurt Caldwell, he adapted his approach to handle a fellow hunter. Dexter doesn't just kill, he perfects it with every victim. Leon Prater has directly killed only Angel Batista, shooting him multiple times in the back. Beyond that single murder, Prater operates as an orchestrator rather than an executioner. He orders Charlie to eliminate threats like Keith the Canton Clubber and arrange Mia LaPierre's staged suicide in prison through bribed guards. While he witnessed countless deaths through his serial killer dinner parties and collected trophies from hundreds of murders, he lacks hands-on killing experience. His approach relies on delegation, money, and manipulation rather than personal execution. Dexter's decades of direct killing experience dwarfs Prater's single homicide. When it comes to actually taking a life under pressure, Dexter has muscle memory while Prater has theory. This experience gap could prove decisive in a life or death encounter. So that leaves Dexter 2 up, but that's all about to change, so keep watching. But before we get on to that, I just want to remind you to subscribe if you're enjoying the video. Dexter Morgan's intelligence operates on multiple levels. His forensic expertise allows him to analyze crime scenes while standing in them as a perpetrator, like when he examined Walter Monroe's victims while secretly being the one who killed Monroe. His strategic thinking kept him ahead of every investigation, from manipulating the Bay Harbor butcher case, to the frame of James Stokes, to outsmarting Maria LaGuerta's renewed investigation by planting Hector Estrada's evidence on her. He successfully maintained his double life inside a homicide department for over 20 years, adapting his approach as threats evolved. When Leon Prater's operation began falling apart with missing killers, Dexter systematically eliminated Lowell and both Gemini twins while maintaining his Red Schmidt cover. Leon Prater built a billion-dollar empire from foster care beginnings, demonstrating exceptional business acumen and long-term planning. His serial killer collection and dinner parties require sophisticated logistics, acquiring trophies from infamous killers, maintaining a secure vault, and operated undetected for years. He successfully identified and recruited active serial killers across the country, including the elusive Dark Passenger. When Dexter infiltrated his group, Prater eventually pieced together his true identity through careful observation and Angel Batista's information. His contingency plan included backup security systems and Charlie as his enforcement arm. Both men displayed genius-level intelligence, but in different applications. Dexter's mind is weaponized for survival and killing, while Prater's is optimized for control and collection. And whilst it's close, I think Dexter just about has the edge, putting it at 3-0 to Dexter. But I cannot say the same for the next category in this video though. Dexter Morgan's resources once centered around his position at Miami Metro Homicide, which gave him access to police databases, crime scene evidence, and investigative intel. These tools allowed him to research targets, monitor investigations, and cover his tracks. Time and again, that infrastructure saved him from exposure, whether through Batista, Masuka, or Deborah pulling strings in ways that Dexter alone couldn't. In New York, stripped of that safety net, he had to adapt by infiltrating Prater's network and relying solely on his forensic expertise to stay ahead of Detective Wallace. Without Miami Metro's institutional cover, his resources are bare bones, improvisation, fake identities, and basic equipment. Leon Prater, by contrast, commands vast financial resources as a billionaire, owning an entire city block in Lower Manhattan with a fortified mansion and high-tech security systems. His network extends deep into law enforcement and the criminal underworld, with Charlie, a former special ops operative, serving as his enforcer. Prater can bribe prison guards, stage suicides, host elaborate dinner parties, and acquire serial killer trophies without ever drawing suspicion. His money buys specialists, equipment, and multiple safe houses, giving him a tactical and logistical advantage that dwarfs Dexter's. Yet, resources are only as effective as the people wielding them. Dexter has proven that he can infiltrate and dismantle operations with superior advantages before, as seen with Arthur Mitchell and Jordan Chase. Moreover, Charlie's loyalty to Prater is not absolute. A man trained in special ops carries his own code, and if Dexter manages to expose Prater's excesses or hypocrisy, Charlie could shift allegiances, turning one of Prater's strongest assets into a liability. The resource advantage lies firmly with Prater, but history shows that Dexter thrives when stripped of safety nets, and betrayal from within could tilt the balance in his favor. So that leaves us at 3-1. Let's move on to the next category. Dexter Morgan mastered psychological manipulation through decades of maintaining his facade. He convinced Rita Bennett that he was a recovering heroin addict, manipulated Lila West into believing they were soulmates, and fooled an entire police department into seeing him as a harmless lab geek. His ability to compartmentalize allowed him to analyze his own crime scenes without betraying any emotional response. When confronting victims, he used psychological pressure to extract confessions, getting Arthur Mitchell to admit his crimes even while Mitchell thought he was Kyle Butler. Dexter's calm demeanor and surgical precision often unnerved opponents more than rage would. Leon Prater's psychological approach centers on his collector's mentality and deep understanding of serial killer psychology. He successfully manipulated his dinner party guests through a combination of financial incentives, ego stroking, and creating a sense of belonging they never experienced. His fascination with killers gave him insights into their motivation and fears. When he discovered Dexter's true identity, he immediately shifted tactics to try levering Dexter's relationship with Harrison. However, his excitement over finally meeting the real Bay Harbor Butcher suggested he might be outmatched psychologically by someone he idolized. Both men excelled at psychological manipulation, but Dexter's abilities are battle-tested against trained investigators and fellow killers. Prater's experience is primarily with managing killers who are already predisposed to trust him. So again, Dexter wins, 4-1. Dexter Morgan maintained perfect operational security for over 30 years while working inside a police department. He developed multiple aliases like Patrick Bateman MD for acquiring M99, created and maintained safe houses while perfected evidence disposal methods that left investigators with no bodies to find. When his Miami operation was compromised, he successfully faked his death and rebuilt his identity as Jim Lindsay in Iron Lake, living undetected for nearly a decade. Even his blood slide trophies were hidden so effectively that they went undetected for years. His ability to adapt when plans went wrong, like when little Chino escaped his shrink wrap or when Lila discovered his cabin, showed remarkable flexibility under pressure. Leon Prater built an operation that remained hidden from law enforcement for years despite hosting regular gathering of active serial killers. His mansion security included 5 inches of solid steel behind limestone walls, biometric access controls, and armed security personnel. He successfully acquired and stored evidence from dozens of notorious killers without detection. However, his operation proved vulnerable to infiltration. Dexter penetrated his inner circle and systematically eliminated multiple members without immediate detection. When his killers started disappearing, Prater struggled to identify the threat despite Charlie's warnings. Dexter's operational security was tested constantly by trained investigators and survived for decades. Prater's security was sophisticated but untested against a determined infiltrator. The advantage goes to Dexter, who has proven that he can maintain cover while actively being hunted, putting it at 5-1. But before we move on to the next category, I just want to remind you to subscribe once again. Dexter Morgan's greatest vulnerability has always been his emotional attachments. His love for Deborah led to increasingly reckless behavior in later seasons, while his relationship with Rita made him predictable to anyone watching his patterns. Most of all, his need to protect Harrison exposed him in ways that no investigative skills ever could. In New Blood, Harrison became both his greatest strength and his greatest weakness, a reason to try living by Harry's code in a purer form, but also a liability that forced Dexter into rush decisions and compromise operational security. Unlike trophies, which he could conceal, or fake identities, which he could abandon, Harrison was visible to everyone, a permanent anchor that Dexter could never fully protect. Beyond his relationships, Dexter was also ruled by his neurological compulsion to kill. The so-called dark passenger was not a choice, but a need, one that forced him into situations where rational judgment often gave way to impulse. The compulsion meant that he could not simply walk away, even when the logical move was to lay low or cut ties. His code gave him structure to that urge, but it also created predictable patterns for investigators to trace, combined with his emotional ties to Deborah, Rita, and especially Harrison. Dexter was frequently driven by instincts and compulsions that undermined his carefully constructed facade of control. In the end, it wasn't forensic evidence or even suspicion from colleagues that doomed him, but the combination of his need to kill and his inability to detach from those he loved. His trophies risked exposure, his cover identities could crumble, but it was his attachments and his uncontrollable compulsion that left him truly vulnerable. Leon Prater's most obvious vulnerability is the physical limitation and dependence on others for protection. Without Charlie, he's essentially defenseless in any direct confrontation. His obsession with serial killers created a blind spot. His excitement over meeting the real Bay Harbor Butcher clouded his judgment about Dexter's true intentions. His need for control and collection made him predictable to someone studying his patterns. Most critically, his operations complexity required multiple moving parts, and when key elements like his recruited killers started disappearing, the entire system became unstable. His narcissistic tendencies also made him vulnerable to flattery and manipulation. Both men have vulnerabilities, but Dexter's is far greater. Prater's physical limits can be covered by wealth and loyal operatives, while Dexter's attachment to Harrison is constant and inescapable. Protecting his son makes him predictable and forces reckless choices, leaving him far weaker in any confrontation. When we analyze every factor, physical capability, killing experience, intelligence resources, psychological warfare, operational security, and vulnerabilities, a clear winner emerges. While Leon Prater commands superior financial resources and has built an impressive criminal enterprise, Dexter Morgan holds decisive advantages in areas that matter most for their inevitable confrontation. Dexter's 3 decades of direct killing experience, combined with physical combat training and proven ability to adapt under pressure, would overwhelm Prater's limited hands-on experience and physical limitations. Prater's wealth and resources could potentially give him an advantage in a prolonged campaign, but in the face-to-face encounter that has been building all season, those advantages become irrelevant. Most critically, Dexter has already proven he can penetrate and dismantle Prater's operation. He successfully impersonated Ronald Schmidt, gained access to Prater's inner circle, and systematically eliminated his recruited killers without detection. He survived Charlie's investigation and even won Prater's trust through psychological manipulation. Leon Prater is undoubtedly intelligent, wealthy, and dangerous. His collection of serial killer trophies and ability to identify and recruit active killers demonstrate sophisticated criminal capabilities, but he's built his reputation on managing killers, not being one. When he finally faces the Bay Harbor Butcher in person, all his resources and preparation won't compensate for the experience gap between a collector and a predator. In the end, Dexter Morgan would win this confrontation because he spent his entire life preparing for moments exactly like this. Leon Prater spent his life preparing to watch them happen. And in battle between a man who kills and a man who pays others to kill, the hands-on experience makes all the difference. So that leaves this video at 5-2. The season finale will likely confirm what this analysis suggests. When Dexter Morgan finally comes for Leon Prater, the billionaire collector is about to become another trophy in the Bay Harbor Butcher's collection. I know some of you will disagree, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Until then, subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.